he had it for 15 years. And then his boat that he was taking care of for Mr. Nelson O'Ken in Centennial, the boathouse burnt, and his boat and our boat. And he was at retiring age, so he retired. But he wanted to go inland and raise fruit trees. And he wanted to get me away from hurricanes because I didn't like to live in hurricanes. So he said he was getting too old to fight, prepare for, fight, and clean up after hurricanes. So he taught me to sell in my house. And I drew up the plans and he built. I didn't want to sell. And to sell my business, which I could still have been running. And he got me up there. He got his fruit trees in his garden. And we did enjoy that time together. But if I had my way, I would still be more rich.
You and Margaret built your house, didn't you, out of teak, the two of you?
No, it's not out of teak. It's all Alaskan cypress. And
where are you going?
I had lots of room, and I really enjoyed it. I miss everybody.
All right.
Oh, I did.
Oh, yes. Oh, we would go into the shell shop all of the time. That was one of the places we would always go. And I remember looking at those beautiful mirrors and everything that was made, never knowing that I was going to know the people who owned it. But they sure watched me too. The same way as going into Matthews. I remember Dora looking at me and she's like, "Where's your mother? Where's your mother and father?" And I go,
She would sell us the jewelry, butterflies and stuff, when we made jewelry out of it.
well, she was very nice. She just was making sure that we were not alone. And Peggy would go and would buy our little shells and then look into
Watch you for that. I wanted to visit. That was what I had more fun doing, was visiting and talking. All right.
Well, here goes, I guess. I've had a wonderful life here in Port Aransas. I've grown up, I've gone to school here. I went to school when we didn't have high school. I have wonderful parents. I have wonderful grandparents. My grandfather first came here in about 1928, 1929 in the Coast Guard. Tilted. This one. Okay. He was brought in from Galveston and he came here. The first time he came to Port Aransas was like in 1928, 29. And he stayed here for a few years and my mother was born. And so then they moved back to Galveston, but then the second time they came here, they moved into the old lighthouse, which was, back then, was owned by the Coast Guard. And my mother lived, and the Coast Guard boat would have to come and pick her up at the lighthouse and take her over here to Port Aransas in a little red brick school building, and she would go to school. And then the Coast Guard boat would come and pick her up and take her back to the lighthouse. Well, Mother's always told me stories about when she was going to school, they would draw for meal, because back then there wasn't very, every kid didn't have a meal. So she said she was always lucky, and she got the drawing and won the drawings for the meal. So my Uncle Jackie, her brother, so she'd always end up giving him the meal, because he loved meal. But she's told me quite a few things. When I was growing up, my grandfather was Coast Guard, and he retired Coast Guard here. And when he went back the second time, he got to pick one man to bring back with him to Port Aransas. And he chose a Gerald Curry. And Mr. Curry was so mad at my grandfather for picking him to bring him to the island. And it ended up to where Mr. Curry retired and my grandfather retired Coast Guard here, and they both loved it here so much that they stayed and they became charter boat captains. And I can remember things like my mother would always take on, I had 7 brothers and sisters total on this, and my mother would take us to the beach. We'd go to the beach like once a week or so, and my mother would be in the car, and the man-o-wars would be on the beach, and she'd be rolling over all them man-o-wars on the beach just so we wouldn't get stung. And we'd always have the watermelon. I know this sounds awful, but we would have hot dogs on the beach and we'd have watermelon. Me and my brothers would take the watermelon in slices to the water and we'd dunk it in the water and eat it. Because you got the salt from it. And I like salted watermelon. So it was pretty good then. And back when I was growing up, we had to be bused to high school, and you got a choice of Aransas Pass or Flower Bluff, which I graduated out of Aransas Pass. And back then, we had to take a bus. Our high school was built in 1980. I graduated out of Aransas, but after you hit the 8th grade, you had to go to one of the high schools in another town. And I went there for 4 years, and before I went 4 years, I saw Toots. Every time I see somebody walk in here, I think of a story. Toots Moore, for instance, 8th grade, Mr. Merrick put on a show on the Beverly Hillbillies. Toots was Jethro and I was Jethrine, and Mr. Merrick was going to make me carry him off the stage. And I told him I was not about to carry Toots Moore off the stage. I was not. And no, I don't know, I'm trying to rack my brain on things. But I grew up here, and then after my grandfather, he became a charter boat captain, I'd have to go and he'd give me my spending money, and he'd give me $1 if I cleaned the boat, me and my sister Judy. And we cleaned the boat, and all the sodas we could drink off the boat. My papa was a good man. He was a little firm and strict, but he was a good man. He would tell us we could pick the stick burrs, and he'd give us $0.25 for a garbage can full of stick burrs. We'd pile it up real high, and my papa would come and he'd put his foot down and squash it down. Oh gosh, here we go. So, but I grew up here, and
What is your family name?
oh, my family name, my grandfather's name was Jack Speed,
Speed.
S-P-E-E-D, and he was honored boat captain of he won the deep sea roundup in 1954, and he was honored boat captain of the year in 1976 on the Centennial. My grandmother, back when I was growing up, the ferry would charge $9 for the island people. You'd have to get a sticker on your windshield, and you pay $9 for 3 months, and you'd put it on the front of your windshield. Well, the only ones that were exempt from this was military, Coast Guard, or doctors, fire department, or firemen. But the other people had to buy that sticker, or you had to pay $1 every time you got across the ferry. Well, my grandmother would go, and she would go to HEB in Aransas Pass. Well, my family would go once a week to the store. And my grandmother, I got so much underpants. My mother would get us. She'd buy all the granddaughters a pair of underpants every week. Every week. I had a drawer full of underwear. My grandmother was good like that. But I just had a good time growing up here, and I felt safe, and I felt like the island, it was like a family. I don't know how to describe it. We went, anything the island people did, they did it as a group. We went to Fisherman of Matthews, which was called, but it's Virginia's now. We used to go and have crab rolls. I can remember eating the nickel ice cream cups and putting peanuts in sodas. I can remember going to, I don't remember if it's Wilson's Grill or South Grill, that we always got special invitations to go for Christmas dinner. I don't remember, I can't remember back then. Wilson's. And we go, and I remember my daddy, which my daddy was, he had the shrimp boat, and my grandfather had the fishing boat. So we fed real good on fish and shrimp. So we would go into Wilson's Grill, right? And I always remember there was a bar on the left, and then they would always have a long white banquet table with all kinds of goodies. And the whole island would be there. And I remember my Uncle Jackie, my papa, and my daddy, and they would always go in this door behind the bar. I never knew what was in there, but I know they were gambling. I know there's a lot of gambling going on in there. I just never was in that way. But I was a little girl. I don't know what else. Anything else I should be saying?
Well, when I first came, it cost the ferry at the causeway, and ferry was privately owned, and it cost $1 to get on and $1 to get off. And we would go to town shopping maybe once a week, but by the time we spent our money in town, when we got back, we had to pull out the seats and start coins to get enough to get home on.
Oh, and the old bridge. I remember my mama driving the old bridge. I never drove it, but I remember driving the old bridge, and where they'd have to pull off, and then another car would come through, and then that car would pull off. And my grandfather back then on the Model Ts and stuff, they said that my papa would give them bubble gum to chew, because if they had flat tires, the little skinny tires, they could play it with the gum. And that
There was a man that worked at Harbor Island that would always make you pull back up, regardless of how near you were to them. And I got so tired of it one day, I was almost off, and he pulled on in front of me. So I just turned my motor off and got my magazine out. And I sat there until he backed up. My daughter never has forgotten it, because she was in the car with me. But I jumped it once too.
How many here have done that road? I remember as a kid, we'd hang out the window, and it like the water was just that much below the wood.
We came back from the hurricane, and I know my parents had a hole in the back floor. Me and my sisters and brothers were watching that hole and going through the water. And if one car would stop, island people would push the front one through to get across the water. Everybody would work as like a team to move one going through it, you know, if they got stuck there.
They had the railroad tracks on it.
It's one of the fun ones.
And then
Flags go bang up
catch
there.
it once in a while. It caught me one day in raining, and my car sailed off and landed on the wall pipes, luckily. And Nettie Nixon picked me up and took me on into town, and I was in Dandy's car. So, you know, are you all right? All right, okay, that's all right. But one time we were coming from, Mother and Dandy had to buy supplies every day for Wilson's, because they didn't deliver, nobody delivered. So we hauled stuff all the time. And we were meeting Dewey Cox, and he had a car loaded of Merchant Marines he was giving a ride into town. And he started to put on his brakes, and there was no brakes. He just turned the wheel, and it sailed out upside down into the water. Oh my God. So they started pulling them out, and Dewey Jr. was the little boy, and he was just shaking, wet and cold. And he had this big canvas cover over the back seat where we stacked cases of meat and stuff. And we wrapped him up in that, and we brought him on home. Somebody else took all the Merchant Marines. But, it's scary.
I just know I have one of those tickets. You know how you keep everything in your scrapbooks when you're growing up? I found one of the Port Aransas ferry passes, and I'm like, see, they really did have them, and I'm going to give it to the museum like they want them.
I've got one too.
Don't you feel like of all the things
Well,
you're
it's
going
the
to
Coast Guard.
collect?
I was going with Coast Guard at the time, and he had one. Now, I was going to tell y'all one more thing. My grandfather was not the first one in my family that came here. I had an uncle named George W. Anderson. He was the lighthouse keeper, but that was before the Coast Guard. And he was the lighthouse keeper, but in order to stay as in the lighthouse, he had to join the Coast Guard. So he came here in 1923. So that was my grandmother's half-brother. Thank you.
Marguerite was hoping we were going to forget
This
about
lady
her.
right here, my mother, and Marguerite Moore, and Shirley Whiteside were three good friends growing up. And in fact, my sister Judy's named after her, Judith Marguerite Doris. Tell you, my grandfather's name was Speed, but my parents named Doris, and now I'm a Tanner. Okay.
Anybody here, or is it on?
This is good.
Share it.
I think so. Oh, let me get this away. Wait, can I go this way? Which way do I go?
Could I ask you a question? They've told you so many stories that I've been through a bunch of them, just like them. Would you like to ask me questions about childhood or anything like that? Because if I start telling you my life story, I've been here since I was 5 years old.
Talk about
I had
that
two
story.
brothers that was born here on the island after we moved here, and there was 3 of us kids, and I was the oldest.
Talk about the hurricanes and
Yeah.
walking through the water and all the snakes.
Okay, I didn't do that much, but I was in the 1942 storm, all of my family, and we were 4 foot off the ground, and in fact, it's right over here, not very far from here, right on the corner that
Across the
turned.
street from Pelican's Landing, right there
Right.
by the drugstore.
And when
They
we,
said right behind it, that's where the Smiths were at. Catherine, how are you?
anyway,
Am I not right?
you're right.
You're right.
You're right.
Shorty and Hazel Smith, and they were wonderful people.
No, thank you.
They absolutely were.
I remember them
There's
too.
no reason you can't talk while you're resting. Michael, grab that chair and get up here.
No, if you ask me questions, I'll answer you, but I want you to
Come
say,
on, come
these are
on
the
up.
people who raised us.
Come on up, come on up.
I didn't raise you,
takes a
Michael. You're
village.
older than me.
And they're the ones, as this nice lady said, got it ready for where it's at today, and they watched us as children.
I did not.
If you went down to the if you went down to Moore, for instance, you could go to Matthews as a kid or Fisherman's Wharf where Agnes and Rick stop.
Get up there before I get up.
Wow.
Come on, Michael!
Michael, please get
But
up
it's
here.
true, if you went somewhere on those docks as a child, does your mother know you're here?
Does your mother
They watch you.
Oh, on this island, you knew 5 minutes later.
Well, I have to be home at 1, and you could, and as quiet as this island, it's busy. You could, you'd be timed to 1:30 or 2 o'clock. Michael, what? It's time to go. Your mother wants you home, and that's exactly how they communicate.
But you could always
Dance in
use
the
the
street.
ferry as an
I'm telling
excuse, telling that the ferry took so long and you couldn't get on.
They did. But it's these wonderful people up there, Peggy and Marguerite,
Very quick.
that got
Funny
this
night
island to where it's at
today
for us.
at 9:40.
They worked hard. Marguerite, I'm sorry to interrupt.
When you went to school in the rain.
Little closer, Miss Marguerite.
Okay, is that far enough? Good. All right. Okay, anyway, what I started to tell you, when the hurricane was coming, you couldn't get off the island. They shut down the only ferry, and you couldn't get into Tarpus to the other end. So Daddy happened to be stationed back here to the Coast Guard too, and it was during the war. And anyway, the water started coming up, and Daddy had to take, everything back then had these little wooden, your floors were made out of wood. And he started, it was coming up and coming up to the bottom of the floor, so he started lifting it up, let the water come up into the house. Well, here's the 3 of us kids, the 5 of us kids sitting on one bed while Mother had a hoe and Daddy pulling the boards up, and the rattlesnakes was coming in. She was sitting there trying to kill the rattlesnake. Those kids sitting in bed like this, watching it. Well, everybody used to own iron beds back then, that had iron racks and the bottom of them. But the beds were, you could put boxes and suitcases underneath of them about this high, but plus being 4 foot, that's how high we were off of the ground. Well, he kept pulling and the water kept coming in, and of course we all started praying. That's just something everybody does, I guess. And anyway, the water came all the way up to the very bottom of the bed, and it stopped. So the next thing you know, it had changed, because you're in an eye. You get an eye then, and everything gets real still, and then it comes back from the other direction. Well, it started pushing the water back out then when it did that. And so when it was all over, well, we had a mess, but we had a lot of killed rattlesnakes. And then in 1945, everybody left this island
Why did they pull up the boards on your house?
to keep your house from blowing away. They float away if you don't.
Play the odds. But they're looking for high ground. They want high ground.
They do.
Not a good choice.
Anyway, so then 1945, everybody on the island that was left just about all went to Jackson Hotel in Aransas Pass, which was 100 years old, I think then, the hotel was. And when we came back from the island, whenever the hurricane was over, now, 1942 was a water storm. It had high winds, but it had more water. 1945 was a wind. The winds were so strong. But when we got home, our house, on the side that our bed was, where we would have been, on the east side, would probably have blown us away because that whole gosh darn wall was gone on the house. It had no water in it this time, but the whole side, I mean, it's just like it just took it from the roof all the way to the floor and took it off. Well, they found it right down here on Station Street, which is called Station Street now. It had blown that far. And that's where, well, Dad was in the Coast Guard, so they got Coast Guard trucks, and all those Coast Guard picked up all that big old thing. They took it up to our house, and all of them put it together and put it back on the house. But I never stayed in another one, and neither did the rest of the family. But they did hold the ferry up, because we owned Billmore and Son. We built it, my in-laws and my husband and I built it. And they always held up the last ferry till we got through giving everybody the hardware, and we'd buy extra plywood and all this kind of stuff so they could do all their windows and back then. And so we were always, every storm that we had, even if it didn't hit us, we had to leave the island, and we were the last group that was off the island. And anything else y'all want to know? That's the hurricane part.
What was the population back then?
About 100, between 125 and 175. In the summer, you might have a few more maybe, but it actually, with the kids and the people, there was just about that many people. And yes.
Where did the ferry land in the late 40s, early 50s?
Okay, late 40s, I think, was down here at
Climbs.
The old lakes on down the loop around
No.
the flats was
Down where
It
Wilson's
was
Grill.
Delmar Yacht
That
Basin,
was
which is the
in
private, Delmar Yacht Basin, which was a private edition now, back in there. And it had moved 3 times since we have been here. I mean, they moved it from down, that was down by close to Fisherman's Wharf, you know, in there. And then it was part way down this in the island.
Klein's Point.
Yeah, Klein's Point, and then down there. But in 1940s, it was down in Delmar Yacht Basin. And it wasn't in there. It was on this end,
Wasn't there an
next to the
Exxon
channel.
station going around that flats area, an Exxon station?
Well, that was by Fisherman's Wharf. Yeah. But that's what we had to do. But we always, in every one of these storms, we were the last one to leave on the last ferry. They'd come up and tell Melvin Littleton would come up, okay, the last ferry, you've got to leave. We were all packed and ready to go.
How old were you?
Little Melvin.
I came down when I was barely 5.
When you was 5?
Is that when you moved
19,
to Marguerite? Is that what you were saying when you were 5?
1935 is when we moved here.
What about Uncle Bill riding his mule or his horse? I mean, didn't he have a mule that he would ride back and forth on the island?
Bill Moore? Yeah. That was before we got here. They had horses everywhere, like y'all were talking about the horses wild. Well, when we grew up, the horses were wild. They went everywhere. And if anybody wanted to keep them out of your yard, they'd have a little white fence like this, or else they would have kind of a rope around it to try and keep the cows from getting into their plants or whatever. Because most everybody had a garden.
Mama said they used to chase her. Those horses would chase her, and she was lucky to find a belly.
But most of those horses all belong to, can't think of the name, but they have a ranch right down here on the island.
King Ranch.
Yeah, King Ranch.
No, it
Grant
was,
Ranch.
What's it, Chapman Ranch?
Oh, there was Grant Ranch.
no,
Yeah,
it's right down, it's right down the island here, and I can't think of their names now.
Well, there's Grant Ranch too, Marguerite.
Huh?
Grant Ranch. You remember that one?
The what?
Way down there, Access Road 1. That
Yeah,
was
about
Grant
in
Ranch.
there.
Uh-huh.
But it had a different family, and they had, reason why I know, because they had a colored man that worked for them, and we grew up here, never seen anybody that was colored. And we saw one woman that kept care of a little boy that came in. All the rest of there was never, ever, ever, when I was a little kid, one on the island. And of course I told a story about my oldest son, which is Carl, the one she was talking about a while ago. Toots. Yeah, I call him Toots.
I call him Toots. I call him
Anyway,
Toots.
this lady came in, and I was so embarrassed. This lady came into the Galdings, which was the grocery store back then, which was right down this little street somewhere. Like it's right there. Anyway,
Southwest.
he said, "Oh, Mama, look." And he used the N-word. I didn't know the difference. I mean, you know, and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry." I said, "This is the first time he's ever seen anybody that is white. Excuse him." And she said, "Oh, that's all right. This happens all the time." Just as nice as she could be. So I never, ever forgot that. But anyway, it was fun growing up here. And like they said, all the people on the island, no matter if you didn't have a dime to your name, and everybody was fishing, they caught their own fish, they had their own gardens. They worked for somebody else, you know, or mostly all of them were boatmen. And you didn't know that somebody might have $100 more than you did, which they call them rich back then. We had $100. But
Marguerite, you mind if I toss in a few 25 cents worth here? You mind if I toss in 25
oh,
cents
sure,
worth
go
here?
ahead. I was just answering the questions anyway.
Okay.
Oh, and one thing, you gotta watch who you talk to. If you talk to somebody, they might be related to another person. You gotta watch who you talk to.
Unaccustomed as I am to public speaking, let's see, 50 years of ham radio operation, etc. I was born in 1944 in Corpus Christi Hospital, by golly. There's a story behind how I got there. And my mother brought me back home, unfortunately. I should have gone to Oklahoma, but that's another story. Needless to say, what happened was that my parents came down here in 1937 to escape the Great Depression. And, okay, Toots, all right, okay. Okay, how about this? All right. What happened? What it boils down to is this better now? Yes. All right. Every microphone is different, believe it or not. When my parents got down here in 37, they'd just been married. And he had bought this chunk of land over there where the Gibbs cottages are located on. And guess why it was called the Gibbs cottages? Frank James Gibbs. His nickname was Spanny. S-P-A-N-N-Y. Now that is a slur on the word spinning wheels in Swedish. Because when he was up there in Whitehall, Michigan, growing up, he would go pick up on the Swedish merchant marine guys. When he got in trouble, he could run like lightning. So they called him spin wheels. And that stuck with him for the rest of his life. He managed to make it through the University of Michigan in forestry. And somehow he met my mother in Oklahoma.
When did they move here?
Well, yeah, I'm getting to that. She was taking all kinds of courses there in Oklahoma. Having been born in 1910. And she was making it through all kinds of things. And the way they met was he was the instructor for one class out in the forest, and he was the instructor. So they kind of got together after a while. Needless to say, after some time they had been ready to get together, and the economy wasn't looking any better. And he thought, okay, enough's enough, so she agreed to come down here because they could always go fishing to get something to eat. And by golly, I'll tell you what, they went fishing. They built the cabins one by one, and he went through several storms, hurricanes, of course. Told her all kinds of things about it. She never stayed here for anything. No way. And I found out the hard way in 1970. Well, the main thing about my story is that I never went to school here, so I don't know what a lot of these people are talking about here, but I do remember the tales of how it was like to be over here in Port Aransas going to school. And the odd part is that Aransas Pass was both a nice place to go to meet people and go to school, but oh boy, if you're from Port Aransas, yeah, we have some signs of recognition here. It was a little bit rough because you're in Port Aransas, and only the dumb people can work from Port Aransas. Well, my sister kind of disproved that. She graduated valedictorian and got even with them. My mother started Aransas Pass High School, class of 1959, and the way that she ever grinded into them.
How many of you graduated from Aransas Pass? How many from the Bluff? Okay, Roger went to the Bluff.
I graduated from Port Aransas.
Oh, okay, 8th grade.
My mother did. All
right.
Absolutely.
For the 8th grade.
Well, the fun part about it is, and I decided that I'd had enough about going through all these problems with island life, and I joined the Air Force after my graduating class, and I did 4 years in the Air Force, and I decided I had enough punishment, so I came home. And here I am making all kinds of plans of engineering for getting off this island from a father who just loved fishing. Now, I'm sure you've heard of the one character, Florida Roberts, the stubborn fisherman. My dad made him look like a beginner fisherman. That man would go out for 24 hours at a time and bring home a string of fish that it made me cross-eyed to have to clean the stinking things. We ate fish, we ate shrimp, we ate fish, we ate shrimp. Oh my gosh. My mother had to introduce us to steak after a while. And yes, we did the saltwater pipe system for the island water, and we did everything else. And to this day, I don't know whether it's better to have runoff from the branches getting into our water system or to have a saltwater system. I'm going to decide on that after a while. The real turning point for me and for everybody else on the island was 1970. August 3rd, and I'll never forget it. That was Hurricane Celia. And if you want to get an idea of what going through a hurricane is like, picture this yard being about this deep in storm surge water, and it is flowing like a river, a bad, mean river, in and out. I mean, the whole island got covered. I was upstairs with my dad when that thing started coming through. And guess what? Celia was supposed to go into Matagorda. It didn't make it. We made a hard left turn, and the next thing we know, we were holding on for dear life. Needless to say, 2 evenings later, we go, thank you, Lord, I managed to survive it.
How many of you went through Celia? How many, Michael? Michael? You went through Celia too?
Yeah.
All right.
I sure did.
Mike, you better tell a good story here.
No, I'm not going to tell you. I will tell you right now, if they tell me to go, I will go. I will never stay through another one.
No, me either.
There's no way in hell.
For that
Absolutely. And I've got more guts than Dick Tracy, and I'm done. No, absolutely not.
I got some news for you.
No, I will go.
Well, I'm dead.
Catherine,
another thing too here, I've got a place up there in Texas there, I'm gonna go to for the next hurricane, and when I come back, there's nothing left.
There they are right
That's
there.
all right.
Yes, they
Somebody
are.
else can
Now I can
handle the
see.
legs.
I'm just doing well with you.
Okay, take the junk. One down now. By the way, there are two things I want to bring out. First, my name is Bill Pierce.
Yes, I'm going to go say Nancy, Betsy. Yes.
Let me stand up.
Betty, I'll be right back.
This is a nice little pink shirt that my sister picked up yesterday in Corpus Christi. Courtesy of the Corpus Christi Fire Department, not volunteers. I did 15 years of firefighting here. She got one size for me and one size for her. She had lost one. So, to honor her and to go ahead and show everybody in Port Aransas the fact that firemen are good people too, I wore it today. And this is the only year I'm going to wear it because this is the 100th anniversary in Port Aransas. Okay, next year, I ain't that old, I'm not going to wear it again.
Hey, Marguerite. Hi. Marguerite, you said that you went to the lighthouse and you stayed. How was it? I mean, when you went to the lighthouse, what all did y'all do? What all did you do at the lighthouse?
Well, they wouldn't let us go. They wouldn't, can you hear me? They wouldn't let us go all the way up to the top where the sign was. They let us go part way, and they said as far as you can go. So they never would ever let us go where the light was up the top. But it had 3 or 4, 3 buildings, I think, is what there was on there, and they lived in one of them. And every weekend, or almost every weekend, they would take me over to the lighthouse with them, and 3 of them and me.
Who would take you?
Your grandfather.
Oh, okay.
Jack.
Okay.
Mr. Speed, I used to call it. Anyway, we fished off of it. We run up and down to the whole cement underneath the things. We would crab. We'd go out on the little dock and catch all this fish, and then we'd have fish fries, just her family and me. And I have all kinds of stories, but I'm not. I would be here forever. Is there anything else anybody else would like to know?
Did you ever go into the deep sea roundup? Did you?
I never won.
You never did?
I caught, this is a true story, I caught a ling several years ago, and Manny Matthews reminded me of it. He said, have you got any pictures of the fish? And I said, no. He said, well, I was on the boat when you caught it, and that was the biggest fish we ever saw, and you broke the record. And I said, yeah, I know. He said, well, have you got anything on the broken record? And I said, yeah. I said, they put it in the fish house at Fisherman's Wharf, and Raymond Nixon was the fish cleaner. They took and weighed it. They measured it. They did all the things they were supposed to it. And it weighed 89 pounds. And so, but they could not verify it until Bill Ellis, which owned the Tarpon Inn, he was the head of all that, and he had to come down and verify and look at the fish and, and make sure that the measurements was right. Well, Carlos and I and my dad and everybody else went out there to show him the fish. Raymond had taken and cut that fish into a jillion pieces, so it never got the record book. But it was good to eat, yeah. It was the best fish you could eat. It was delicious.
How you doing? Oh,
Does anybody have any questions for Marguerite?
Then they don't like my
All right. Wait.
Back when the Little Red Schoolhouse was still in operation, here in the mall, they had a part-time teacher. I think Wayne's first helped out at one time. She was either in high school or just out. But Miss Nelson, my mother-in-law, Miss Gibbs, and I I forget who else, but they paid $150 a month. And Ms. Nelson was serving as principal too. That was the wages then. And also, along about the time, in 42, already bought a house from Mr. Hamilton. Paid $1,600 for it furnished, and he wouldn't let us pay but $20 a month, which was good because Margaret went in the service and we didn't get much more than that. But
$20.
I know.
Be nice.
So she was the teacher.
Were you a teacher for a while?
no, I wasn't. My mother-in-law was. I got out of high school, luckily.
Could I say
My daughter
something?
started her
She's finished.
44th year.
Go ahead, Marguerite.
I was going to tell you that I had two little brothers that was born on this island after we moved here. There was three of us, and I was the oldest when we moved here, 1935. And this is my brother, R.H., and I have one called W.O., and they were born here on this island. Right in
my mother was
fact,
too.
right here off of this Station Street or whatever it is, right there.
I think you better
They
call my
lived a little
house.
house right
I'm
there.
at the middle of a presentation.
We live.
Okay, that's okay, that's okay.
Anyway, you want to finish talking now some more, Peggy? Oh, I'll tell you one more thing. She brought up the little schoolhouse. We all went to school in that same little red schoolhouse the time we were born, or the time we were in grade school. I moved after I got married to a house. They moved a house right there, which is right next to the school where the little red schoolhouse was, and I lived there for 60 years, and my kids moved me to Carpus lately.
There was 2 classes in each room.
No, 3 when I
Oh,
went.
Mama said
There was 3.
There was
Yeah.
2 when Shirley and Margaret
Yeah.
started.
There was 3 when we
And
went,
Miss
3
Barton
classes to a
was-
thing. First,
So,
second, third,
first
fourth,
grade.
fifth, sixth, seventh,
Sports
and
and
eighth.
It goes right between the Presbyterian Church and the Sportsman's Lodge. It's right at the end of that street.
And I always swore that's why we
Like
were
a
all
little
such
dead
smart
end.
kids, because they made us, one class was having whatever they were doing, the other classes were supposed to be doing schoolwork, and what they were doing was listening to the ones that were the other 2 classes, and we knew by the time we got there, we all knew what they were already done.
It was such
So
a
we made
poor
pretty good
school.
grades back then.
Poor school in finances. And they could only furnish the books, and that was it.
And some deals.
So the Mothers Club had a Halloween carnival every year to raise money to help buy things like a phonograph and records and anything extra that the kids might need.
Do you want to chat?
And we really put on a Halloween carnival. They were really fun and work.
Can I tell you one more thing? Okay. Peggy brought it up a while ago. She's talking about the Woodland Hall. And everybody went to the Woodland Hall during the war because everybody just met there. And the Coast Guard would show pictures. That's the only movies. There's no such thing as TV or anything back then. So they would show pictures on the weekend for everybody. So we all met there. And on my 14th birthday, they gave me a birthday party. First birthday party I had ever had. First one I ever had. 14. And Peggy should remember this because she and Don Roy was in the kitchen, and we were in the other room, and we just got through opening up the gifts. My mother and Dad had given me a little phonograph record about this, you know, you carry around. We used to take it to the beach all the time, everybody did, and that's the records that we played. I still have those records and that phonograph to this day. And
What was it called?
the Woodman Hall?
Old Woodman's. I don't know.
Well, we always called it the Woodman's Hall, yeah.
Woodman of the World, I think.
But it was Old Woodman's Hall to us. Anyway, on my birthday, they were lighting this stove because it was January the 2nd, which was winter. And they went to light the little heater. When they did, it blew up. It burned the Woodman Hall down. I always remember my 14th birthday.
Where was that
It was
at?
Jan, because I was at home and Jan came running down the that
But you
alley.
came.
I Yeah,
I thought you and Don Raw was the one that was in there, they said and did it, so I didn't know.
Jane came running down. The building's on fire and my phone that one.
Okay.
Well, I went running down, see if I could help. Everybody went to the fires.
Okay, of course.
There was no fire department then. And you picked up the phone to call the operator, and she told you automatically where the fire was. And everybody went to the fire.
I know when I grew up here, a lot of times me and my sister would, you can't imagine kids growing up here on the island how it was. I mean, me and my sister Judy, we'd go down, we'd have to be in by dark, but we'd go down and catch ribbon fish, and we'd go to Fisherman's Wharf or something to sell at 60 cents a dozen or something. We'd make our money there. And besides my 25 cents my papa would give me for the sticker burrs, but we did that kind of things. I mean, me and my sister would go down there, and the shimmering, glittery ribbon fish coming out of the water was really neat. Or we'd go in the fish house and get a fish head, put it on a string, get crabs, and pull them up and save them. And coquinas. My mama was, every time we'd go to the beach, we'd get coquinas, and Mama would cook it like potato soup, and she would get so, she'd do it, but it would stink up the house big time. I mean, she hated to cook that coquina soup.
Anime Sims taught all kids to swim down in the cove.
Yes, she did.
Oh, those coquinas, that's what I was referring to, those clams on the hook, but that was different from that. When we grew up, there wasn't any, well, anime didn't do that. They did it for our kids, but you and Judas and all that. But she taught everybody on the island just about. And, but when we grew up, Matthews was a little bitty place then, before they had the building in the back and everything. And they'd tell all of us kids to go down to the docks when our dad come in from fishing. And they'd say, okay, well, you learn to swim, you have to jump in. So we all jumped in all the time, and that's how we learned to swim. Men all sat around, men and mothers sat around watching all the kids swimming out there.
Let me tell you a story about Johnny. Johnny Roberts and my stepbrother, Travis Wilson Jr. They used to go down to the pier and dive off the end of the pier. Well, Travis wasn't supposed to. I don't know whether Johnny wasn't supposed to or not, but Travis wasn't supposed to. Well, he got caught in the eddy, and he had to grab a hold of the piling, which was barnacle covered. Well, we were still in the house on legs. It was when we first got down. And he come in, and his chest was just, Mother put him in the bathtub and poured Lysol on him. He never, I don't think he died off the day. But she was afraid he'd get it all infected.
And that's what she used.
She poured the Lysol.
What is that what you use for all fish poisoning? Pretty much was like Lysol, or?
I don't know.
It's what they use.
Well,
All right, does anybody have any more questions? Anything else to say, or what I say, Johnny Roberts?
Marguerite, tell us about when you met Carlos. What you remember about the first time you ever met Carlos Moore?
Well, we grew up being kids together. He wasn't but 3 years older than me.
So when you came here at 5, he was 8.
Yeah, he was 8 and I was 5.
When did you start going together?
Well, I never ever went with him. He had other girlfriends, and they'd take me along. This is true. They'd take me along on their dates, some of them, when I was like 13 and 12. And don't ask me why. I don't know. But they run around with my uncle, which was his age. My daddy's youngest brother. They always thought he was my brother because he was only 3 years difference. And so they were always together, and they'd always take me with them. And I remember one date I had with Carlos. We were going down to South Grill, the old South Grill, which is close to where Fisherman's Wharf is right now. And all of a sudden I looked back, And there was Nonabeth, his little bitty sister, with pigtails that were about this big around, each one. She had the thickest hair I ever saw in my life. And she popped up, and she, oh gosh, I thought I'd catch him kissing you. We didn't know she was in the car. So
Good chaperone. Where did
Yeah,
y'all
she was a
go
good
for your
chaperone.
dates? Where did most of the people around here go to the beach?
to
on
the
their
beach.
dates?
They used to have down close to the
Well, that's
jetties
what I
and
thought.
with a little round building there. And that's where why the reason I think I got that little Victrola so we could take it down there and everybody could dance in the sand. There wasn't any place to go over
and
here.
dance a lot.
We had
We
one
went-
theater and it was an
Options.
indoor, outdoor. It had half a
Which is
room and
shorty
half of it was open.
Yeah, when they were little, they built it.
They said that Peggy's saying that they danced at Shorty's.
They did. They danced at Shardy's.
Options,
They danced at Shardy's and the Rod and Gun. They got all the kids coming there. There were two, well,
When there was Silver Dollar and the Balinese and
yeah,
some
there was
other
Silver Dollar right down there, but it
There was
burned
a-
up pretty fast.
Yeah, it was owned by the Newton brothers that were
Yeah.
train robbers from Oklahoma.
Wow.
It's a nice big building that's
And
built
they
next to
had
Shardy's. but it
silver
burned up.
dollars in the floor.
Shardy's
Probably some of their loot.
The silver teeth.
Silver.
Yeah, silver.
There wasn't gambling going on here all that much, was there?
I'll never say a thing about it.
Yes, there was. It was always the South Grill or
Yeah,
the
they
Rod and
always
Gun.
had them in the
No,
back.
Rod and Gun, but
Wilson's Grill.
there were some cottages down here with an old man, and I can't think of his name. I think it starts with an F. It used to be down where the light is on that side. Do you all remember Peggy?
Felton? No.
Yeah, I guess it was
No,
Mr. Felton.
Felton's belonged to Miss Humphries.
Okay, well, anyway, he used to have pretty good ones, I understand. We never went. We were too little, but we knew they were having them.
George Holmes' house was behind. But, you know, that house that sits kind of crooked right behind that convenience store there on the corner.
The medical center?
There used to be Buccaneer courts in there.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And
That's
there
down
was kind of a crooked
down by
lot there.
Seafood and
George,
Spirit.
that was George Holmes' house. And those cottages were his, and then the Mustang cottages down here.
I remember
And then-
Just.
And
Call
then
it
the one,
Just.
then the ones over, right up from the electric company. There were some more cottages. He had 4 different sections of. And Travis Jr. worked for him that summer. We come down here. And then Miss Nelson managed him for him in the 40s.
Your dad built all the brick houses. Your dad built the brick houses that are here, didn't he? The ones that are on Cotter and on
Yeah.
whatever those roads are. See, you got to live here to not know the names of the streets. I mean, you know,
The Coast Guard, those brick buildings, Coast Guard was mother and stepfather built those when they moved back to the island. And they were behind my house. And they had guest cottages in their house. And it had originally been city property. It was where they had water well when we had our brackish water.
Well, I loved salt water. I couldn't stand it when they piped water in over here from Carpus. We were so used to having
My family coming
the
in.
big tanks, and they were all rainwater, and it also came from the ground, but it had salty taste.
We'd have to go
We
in all
never
our
were
water.
sick. Nobody on this island ever got sick unless somebody come in and bought mumps.
Didn't we
or-
have to haul our own drink
measles.
water out by the ferry? Wasn't there?
Well, that was during a hurricane we did that, yeah.
yes.
And they had a spigot down at the ferry landing, and you could take a jug down there and get it filled up.
Yeah.
That's what I remember.
Now, I remember that.
Yes.
There was some story about some shootout or something at one of the bars. What happened?
That was at the Rod and Gun Club.
W. Gates was killed.
No, that
That was before.
that was at,
Shorty.
Shorty was killed.
Shorty was
Shorty
Gates.
died.
Gates was shot at the run.
Some guy from Rockport got her.
I thought she was hit over the head or something.
Well, tell the whole story.
Here we're all talking.
I didn't know. All I knew was what happened.
What about telephones and electricity? Like, how'd that come and what was that?
Riverside.
Riverside.
It was a local.
Telephone extension was Riverside.
The telephone switchboard was in Larry Walker's house, up on the corner of
C and 10th.
whatever.
And you had 3 numbers, right?
Two, no,
Three
two.
numbers?
Two.
Oh,
Two digits.
when we started coming down here, it was 3.
Yeah, well, my papa, I've got pictures of him showing 2-digit numbers, and that's it.
No, ours was 101.
And when you could get on there and Madison would say, I need Sam's Food Mart or whatever. And she just connected her in. You didn't need any numbers. That came on later on. You had
Endorsement
big
line.
line, starting up line.
Come back.
But Aunt Opal was always there, and boy,
Where did you go, Mr.? Yeah, Opal Mars endorsement line.
Aunt Opal knew everything.
So you picked up the phone and
And
somebody
Don was the electrician.
No, it wasn't like that. Well, yeah, somebody was on it and picked the phone up.
Yeah,
It had a switchboard and we only had, like, we had 94,
but you couldn't hear the people talking.
65.